Tortured Poets department is filled with a ton of sad and angry songs, but arguably one of the saddest and angriest is Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. Taylor has addressed the public's misconception of her several times, most famously in songs like Blank Space. Also not uncommon for artists of her scale to do this, it's a form of therapy. However, this song in particular is completely unfiltered. This is not satire in the way of Blank Space or Look What You Made Me Do. He's not playfully trying to engage with criticism of her, sort of laughing it off as a way of dismissing it and coping with it. This time, you get to see the culmination of nearly 2 decades of being hurt by it. Those of you who might not be aware, the title is a play on Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf from the 1933 Walt Disney film Three Little Pigs. Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf is sung by the pigs in the movie as a way of dismissing the wolf and saying that it's not actually a threat to them. He won't actually huff and puff and blow their whole world down. And in Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, Taylor speaks from the perspective of the wolf. The opening lyrics we have, the who's who of who's that is poised for the attack, but my bare hands paved their path. You don't get to tell me about sad. If you wanted me dead, you should have just said, nothing makes me feel more alive. Setting the stage by saying she knows people are going to attack her because she's the big bad, she acknowledges by not striking back that only makes it easier for her to be attacked. Bare hands is a phrase that people use when they don't have any weapons. Then we have a little bit of that sarcastic anger, which is, if you wanted me dead, you should have just said, nothing makes me feel more alive. Her vocal tone and the use of her lower register shows us that this is a very sarcastic statement. This doesn't actually make her feel more alive, but since people are going to say that about her anyway, she might as well lean into it. We'll see very quickly that this is an example of satire, not done for humorous purposes. We have the chorus of, so I leap from the gallows and I levitate down your street, crash the party like a record scratch as I scream, who's afraid of little old me? You should be. This is Taylor being the wolf. Little old me is an English idiom that is meant to be self-deprecating and modest. So instead of calling herself the big bad wolf, she's saying, who's afraid of little old me? Well, I'm nothing to be afraid of. While also leaning into the villain character that has been created for her. Then we get a little bit more of the story. With the scandal was contained, the bullet had just grazed. At all costs, keep your good name. You don't get to tell me you feel bad. Is it a wonder I broke? Let's hear one more joke. Then we all just laugh until I cry. And again, Taylor's vocal delivery is very angry, but there are so many undertones of hurt. The scandal was contained, the bullet had just grazed. Meaning that if this is about Joe Alwyn or Matty Healy or whoever, she took the brunt of the scandal and it broke her. She's angrily asking, you wonder why I am the way I am? Don't you just keep making jokes at my expense until I cry because everyone loves to see the villain fall? Which is very much giving, I did something bad, they're burning all the witches even if you aren't one, so light me up. The story goes on in, I was tame, I was gentle till the circus life made me mean. Don't you worry folks, we took out all her teeth. Meaning that the wolf has been caged and don't worry, she's no longer a threat to you. Also a reflection on who she used to be when the majority of her public perception was that she was a good girl. So the circus life, the music industry, made her mean. And then we get like the angriest bridge we've ever had from her. Of course, saying that, we're going to ignore All Too Well 10-minute version for a second. First 2 lines, so tell me everything is not about me, but what if it is? They say they didn't do it to hurt me, but what if they did? Everything is not about you is a form of gaslighting depending on the context. And in the context of this song, she's making that very clear that that phrase was used against her in a gaslighting sense. And now she's not even playing around, she's asking, what if they did do this to hurt me? What if they made me mean because they want to see the villain fall? I want to snarl and show you just how disturbed this has made me. You wouldn't last an hour in the asylum where they raised me. Taylor said that everything in the music video for Fortnight references every corner of the Tortured Poets department. And if you watch the music video, you'll know that this music video takes place in an asylum known as the Tortured Poets department. And while yes, the asylum is a reference to this song specifically, Asylum itself is a reference to the music industry that she has grown up inside of. And she's saying that you can go ahead and critique her, but you wouldn't last an hour in this industry. I believe the scene where she takes the forget him pills be an allusion to PR. We get it, you're hurting Taylor, but you have a job to do and millions of fans across the globe who want you to entertain them. So get up and do it, we'll get over this PR scandal. Which we can kind of deduce from, so all you kids can sneak into my house with all the cobwebs, I'm always drunk on my own tears, isn't that what they all said? That I'll sue you if you step on my lawn, that I'm fearsome, and I'm wretched, and I'm wrong, put narcotics into all of my songs, and that's why you're still singing along. Not necessarily angry at her fans. This is more specifically to the, metaphorical pigs who don't care about whether or not she's hurting, let alone why she's hurting. make all the content or news articles or whatever, basically saying that she does it to herself. She's a serial dater, or she's actually some evil villain that has everyone brainwashed into actually liking her music. Then she ends the song with, "'Cause you lured me and you hurt me and you taught me, you caged me and then you called me crazy. I am what I am 'cause you trained me, so who's afraid of me? Who's afraid of little old me? Who's afraid of little old me?" And she ends the song on kind of a depressing sigh. Is why I think the Spotify canvas is this scene from the Fortnite music video, where the papers around her are burning and she's standing there sad, because it represents that level of isolation very few artists like Taylor's level of fame can truly understand. Everything's burning around her, but all that's left is her and her little world. Hurt, sadness, isolation, loneliness, anger, happiness. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's going on around her, it's just her, which is why she's in a black dress. Black being the original color of the big bad wolf, black for the black dog, and black clothing is typically associated with funerals and death, which is why Who's Afraid of Little Old Me is one of her angriest songs to date. Also underneath it all, when she lets us into that isolated world that she lives in, is literally one of her saddest. No matter how many good things she does or how kind she is or whatever, she's always going to be treated like the villain because of her social status. She's not trying to get the critics and people who hate her to feel bad for her, because they never will. No matter what she does, she will always be seen as the big bad wolf. If she actually does anything that would point to her being the villain and actually leaning into that persona that's been created for her, all that would result from her actually becoming the big bad wolf and doing bad things would be her fans being disappointed in her, she losing everything that she's worked for, her not actually feeling like that's who she really is, and her haters would get a field day with their suspicions confirmed. It's a lose-lose situation. Anger and sadness oftentimes go hand in hand, which is why this song and, conveniently, The Black Dog are on the You Don't Get to Tell Me About Sad, Angry Apple Music playlist. This is satire, Taylor, but it's not funny.